Alright, what's up everybody? We're back with another episode of Everyday Hoops. Um, yeah, we guys doing well. Today, we're going to be talking about the games that happened yesterday on February 12th. We're going to be talking about more of the waiver wire and buyouts. And then get into a little bit of college basketball as well. So let's get into it. First, shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs for winning the Super Bowl. Which is why there's only two games yesterday that were early, so I appreciate the NBA for doing that. Shout out to Rihanna for the halftime performance. We get a little cheer for that. And yeah, let's dive right into the games. The first game was the Grizzlies in Boston taking on the Celtics on ABC, early game. And yeah, two of the best teams in the league going up against each other. This is bound to be a very good game. And it was. First quarter was very close, very back and forth. The Grizzlies led by 2 at the end of the first quarter, 28-26. And it was looking like this was going to be one of those games that was going to be very back and forth, very tight throughout the whole game, especially with how the first quarter started. And it was that until the 7:34 mark in the second quarter, where Mike Muscala hit a three-pointer off the Celtic bench. From that moment on, the last 7.5 minutes of the second quarter, the Celtics go on a 30-12 run. It was a lot of the role players doing work, like Greg, Derek White, Grant Williams, Muscala. Tatum got in on it a little bit. And they go on a 30-12 run to go into halftime up by 13, which was big for Boston. They outscored Memphis 35-20 in the second quarter. The Grizzlies needed to come out in the second half with a fight, because if not, the Celtics were just going to bury them from three. And the Grizzlies came out to fight in the second half. Grizzlies start the third quarter on a 15-4 run, led by John Morant, who was very good in that third quarter, bringing this team back into within striking distance. And it set up a very good fourth quarter. Grizzlies outscored Boston 33-21 in the third quarter, and it sets up a very nice fourth quarter, which started off very back and forth. Jaren would hit a shot, then Derek White would come back with a shot, and then Brandon Clark, and then Sam Hauser. And it was just very back and forth, back and forth. But then the Celtics in the three-point shot. Al Horford hit like 3 threes in the last few minutes of the game to really help seal this one. Robert Williams was getting in there. Grant Williams in shots. The Celtics' depth closed this game out, and Boston wins 119-109. And this was a great win for Boston because of few reasons. One, they didn't have Jaylen Brown in this game due to a face injury. They didn't have Marcus Smart, who's still out with a leg injury, and Malcolm Brogdon also didn't play in this game. 3 core players for this team, 2 starters, and then Malcolm Brogdon, their 6th man, all not playing this game. And then you also factor in that Jason Tatum struggled to shoot in this game, shooting just 3 for 16 from the field, having 16 points. Having all of that going against them, especially against one of the top teams in the league and number 2 in the Western Conference, the Memphis Grizzlies. For all that to be happening and Boston to still come out on TV and win this game was huge. And I want to talk about the Celtics role players, because the Celtics role players have been fantastic this season. Derek White had a 30-point game the other day on TV against the Hornets. He comes out and has 23 and 10 assists. I love what he's been for the Boston Celtics ever since he got traded there at the trade deadline last season. He's been great for Boston. Got guys like Al Horford and Robert Williams, the big men down low, hitting big shots for Al Horford and Robert Williams, their defensive end and on the glass. Grant Williams is a fantastic role player for them. Mike Muscala, a big pickup. He hit a couple threes. Brain Pritchard, when he got his opportunity, he hit a couple shots. And then who would have thought Sam Hauser? Sam Hauser would be a big factor in this game. He had 20 points and hit 6 threes. He was going on a little bit of a rough patch after starting the year very well and entering the Celtics rotation. He kind of fell off a little bit, but now he's back, and that was a big way to come back, hitting 6 3-pointers. And the Celtics' depth has been great, especially recently with some of the injuries that the Celtics have gone through. And this is why Boston is probably the title favorite right now. They have all this stuff. They have the superstars with Tatum and Brown playing an amazing level. They got the role players that can help you win championships. Guys like Al Horford and Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart and Grant Williams and all these guys that just know their role and just know how to win and play very well, but also could step up in case of injuries and stuff. You got the great coaching, which that good depth also speaks to. With Joe Mazzulla, being the youngest coach in the NBA and then just kind of being thrusted in to being the head coach all of a sudden at the beginning of the year. And the way Brad Stevens kind of built this team as well, getting players that he knows works, and being a coach also have experience knowing what works and what doesn't work. It's just the Celtics are an amazing team. They're the best team in the league, and they should be title favorites because they have so much. They have great stuff everywhere. They got great stars, great role players, great coaching, and I mean, you saw last night, or well, not night, but yesterday, why this team is what it is. Because you got so many injuries and your star players struggling to still come out and win a game against one of the best teams in the league. It's amazing. Yeah, a big factor in this game also was the three-point shooting. Boston hit 21 threes. They've had a lot of games where they hit 20 plus threes. The three-point shooting has been very good this season. Yeah, for Memphis, this was a big game for Memphis, especially after that famous John Morant interview where he said Celtics are the only team we're really worried about. And yeah, I mean, I understand why they're worried about him. They lost. Ja had 25, 6, and 7. He had a great third quarter, but yeah, Desmond Bane had 18 and 7 assists. Brandon Clark had 14 off the bench, but then after that, Memphis just wasn't really doing much. And Dylan Brooks had 11 points, shooting 4 for 12. Jaren Jackson had 15 and 7. Didn't have a block and fouled out, which is a big problem for Jackson throughout his entire career. He's an excellent defender, especially this season. He's the leader for Defensive Player of the Year. He's an all-star. He's been great, but his only flaw is that he fouls out. And a lot of them are pretty bad fouls. A lot of fouls where the shot's already going up and he knows he can't block it or affect it, but he still goes up and tries to do something anyway and then ends up fouling the guy. Not all of them are his fault. He does have a few where they're like a little bit ticky-tack and stuff. But still, Jaren Jackson's got to understand that he's such an important part to this team, especially defensively, that he can't just go and just jumping everywhere and putting his hands everywhere. Like he's got to learn how to control it and stop fouling. But then yeah, also the Grizzlies' depth hasn't really been as good as it was, which is I think a big reason why they've been struggling recently, is because their depth, which they can usually rely on, especially last year, which is why they won so many games, because their depth, guys like Tyus Jones and Kyle Anderson and Brandon Clark will come in and just kind of keep the momentum the starters have and build up. But yeah, a lot of those guys are gone now. Like Anthony Melton got traded, Kyle Anderson left. But still, I mean, even this season, their depth has been pretty solid. But as of recently, it hasn't really been. Brandon Clark's been good. Santi Aldama's been there once in a while, but Tyus Jones hasn't really done much. As of recently, I think he's been hurt as well. John Conchar doesn't really play anymore. Zara Williams is in and out of the lineup. Their rookies like David Roddy and Jake LaRavia are up and down the G League. So, yeah, their Grizzlies' depth, I think that's a big reason why Memphis has been struggling. It's because their depth. If they want to right the ship, their depth's got to step it up. They also are missing Steven Adams in there. Steven Adams he's just always really in the right spot to get easy dump offs, easy dunks, and layups. He's on the rebounding glass a lot. He's solid defensively. Like he's a kind of an important piece of this team too. So without him, it's a little bit different out there. But yeah, Memphis has got to right the ship because they've been struggling recently, and they got to right the ship to get back to what they were. If they want to be taken seriously. Then the second and last game of the day was the Pistons in Toronto taking on the Raptors. And the Raptors were off to a hot start because of Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet had 16 first quarter points. He finished the first half with 20. He's been very good the second half of the season. Shooting the ball after having a horrible shooting start to the season. Really nice to see him get back to what he was last season when he made his first All-Star game. But yeah, Fred VanVleet had 20 first half points. The Raptors went at halftime with a 1-point lead on Detroit. There's a lot of stuff going on for Toronto in this game as well. OG Anunoby and Gary Trent Jr. both didn't play in this game. And then their coach, Nick Nurse, also didn't come to this game because he had personal reasons. And Adrian Griffin was the acting head coach for today. Yeah, so a lot of stuff going against them. But Fred VanVleet comes out hot. Pascal Siakam playing well. We go to the third quarter, and the Raptors are trying to pull away. But then Pistons are right there, and there's Bojan Bogdanovic really just keeping them in the game. I feel like anytime they need a big shot or needed just something, Bojan Bogdanovic will come in and hit 2 free throws or hit a 3 or something to keep Detroit in this game. They also had guys like Alec Burks and Jaden Ivey doing stuff in between as well to kind of keep them in this game. And Pascal Siakam had a great third quarter. And we go to the fourth quarter, and the last few minutes of this game, Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam were just, I feel like, in anything they could. I feel like every time the Pistons got close, Pascal or Fred, would hit a shot. And Precious Achiuwa was in there a little bit as well. He had shots. And Scotty Barnes hit a big three-pointer with a minute 21 left to put Toronto up by 9 and kind of seal this game. And the Raptors win 119-118. Fred VanVleet had 35 and 8 assists, shooting 6 for 13 from 3. Yeah, he was great in this game. He was in all kinds of three-pointers. Really just providing a big spark for Toronto, especially with some of their guys out. So that was big for them. Pascal had another great game, 28, 4, and 6 assists with 2 blocks. He's had a few back-to-back, 3 games in a row where he's been looking amazing, which is great for the All-Star. Call him an All-Star now because he made the All-Star team this year. And then Scotty Barnes had a good game as well, 20 points. He only missed 1 shot from 3. Most of his points came from the free throw line. He was 7 for 10. Precious Achiuwa had a double-double. But yeah, the Raptors did what they did best. Forced turnovers. They forced 16 Detroit turnovers. They only had 8 as a team. They rebounded Toronto as well. They rebounded Detroit as well, 40-32. And yeah, Adrian Griffin got a win as a head coach. Fred VanVleet, Pascal, and Scotty were really putting it on for Detroit. Bojan Bogdanovic had a great game, 33 points. He shot 10 for 18. Again, I feel like every time they needed something, Bogdanovic would provide it. And I kind of like that Detroit didn't just give him up just because he was a veteran and they were bad, just giving up for anything. They understand that. They have a very good, solid young core. They're going to get another top pick this year. Kate Cunningham's going to come back next year. And they're trending in the right direction. And they know maybe next year, if they get a little bit lucky enough, and Cade improves, and Jaden Ivey improves, and Durant improves, they can make a playing spot, and Bojan Bogdanovic will really help them. So I like that. They didn't just give him up for anything. And Bogdanovic likes it in Detroit. They signed him to a contract extension, and he's like, you know what? I'm fine with being here in Detroit and helping these young guys. So yeah, that's good for them. Jaden Ivey had a good game as well, 18 and 7 assists. Alec Burks had 21 off the bench. Now he's the opposite of Bogdanovic. I'm very mad that Alec Burks didn't get traded at the trade deadline. I really thought a playoff team would go and give up some seconds. Look at what people got for other things. A team could give up like 3 seconds to get Alec Burks, maybe. He should have been traded at the deadline. I feel like he would have been perfect on any playoff team. But he had a good game with 21, and Hamidou Diallo had 18 and 7 rebounds off the bench as well. Jalen Duren was in and out of this game. He left this game. Only played 21 minutes, had 6 points. And then Killian Hayes. Who's Killian Hayes? Anyway, we're going to go to the transactions, the waiver wire buyouts. So live on the podcast, last episode, we saw that Danny Green got bought out by Houston, and then the Celtics and the Cavaliers were frontrunners. And then a little bit while after, it was announced, Woj first announced that Danny Green agreeing to a deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Sean's reporting that it was a 1-year, $2 million deal. And so Danny Green back where he started. He started his career from Cleveland. He was drafted in the second round back in 2009 out of North Carolina by Cleveland. Spent a little bit of time there. And now, 14 years later, he's back to help this team. It's a solid move from Cleveland. It's not something you lose your mind about, but it's also not something you're like very mad about. It's just it's a cool move. He's a veteran, won multiple championships, been on very, very good teams. He can help this young and experienced team in the playoffs. And he's a guy they kind of need. They don't have a lot of consistent 3-point shooting, and well, Danny Green doesn't really provide consistent 3-point shooting, but he can provide 3-point shooting sometimes. And he's a solid defender. And yeah, he's just a vet, really, just a vet to help some of these young guys, and somebody you could just plug in and kind of play some spurts. So yeah, solid move from Cleveland, and Danny Green gets to go back to the playoffs, so it's good for him. Also on the waiver wire, Patrick Beverly was waived by the Orlando Magic. Um, I still still find it so funny that Orlando, as soon as they traded for Patrick Beverly, literally was like, told Patrick Beverly, "Don't come. You don't have to come. We know you're older. You want to be on a playoff team. We're not that. Go ahead. You can stay home. We got you. We'll buy you out." And they did. They waived him. And now I'm where to see where Patrick Beverly goes. A lot of people are saying the Bucks, which I can kind of see. I can definitely see him in a Bucks jersey, so that he could fit that team. But yeah, he'll definitely end up on a top team, just because I feel like teams need Patrick Beverly type of guy, some gritty, hard work, do the little things, defense type dudes that once in a while can knock down a 3-pointer. And he's actually playing really good for the last few games for the Lakers before he got traded. And so yeah, the Bucks are a team I see a lot linked to him. But yeah, I will see. We'll see where he goes. Yeah, I think the team's gonna pick him up pretty quick, honestly. Also on the waiver wire, John Wall was waived by the Houston Rockets. They bought out Danny Green and John Wall at the same time. I see the Bucks also linked to John Wall. I think Miami will be a team I could see John Wall with. To be honest, I just want to see John Wall play. Like, I feel like ever since, like, remember 2016, 2017 John Wall, where he was, like, elite, one of the top point guards in the league, leading the Wizards to the playoffs? Like, that feels like so long ago, just because we've seen him on the bench mostly ever since then, because of so many injuries, which really sucks, because he's so talented, and he was gonna have such a good career, that injuries got to him. But, yeah, I just want to see him on the court again, and contributing in some way. Because I thought this was going to be a good opportunity for the Clippers, but then the injuries happened, and then they traded him. So yeah, I could definitely see him in Miami, maybe not on a top playoff team, but a middling, like a 5-6 seed. Maybe that can just provide a little bit of a spark, like a Miami team. But yeah, and the last one, also involving the Houston Rockets, is Justin Holiday. They said there's going to be some teams interested in Justin Holiday if a buyout happens from Houston, because Houston doesn't want anybody above the age of like 25 or 26 on their team. So they're buying out all those guys. Justin Holiday's another one. Yeah, I think Justin Holiday, people kind of forget who Justin Holiday was. He was, the last few years, a very good 3-and-D wing that was coveted by a lot of teams. But then, Atlanta this year hasn't really worked out. He kind of lost his spot in the rotation. But I think definitely a lot of teams can use a Justin Holiday. A 3-and-D wing. He's not afraid to shoot three. He's definitely not afraid to light it up from three. And then defensively, he's solid enough. He's long. He's about 6'6", 6'7". So, yeah, I definitely could see a playoff team picking up Justin Holiday, and then all of a sudden he starts contributing randomly after getting traded. But yeah, we definitely see what happens with Justin Holiday if the Rockets do buy him out, which I think they probably will. But then again, he was on the bench his first game after he got traded there. He was on the bench in Houston, so maybe they're not gonna buy him out. I don't know. Who knows what the Rockets think at this point? But yeah, anyway, we're going on to some other news about the Gary Payton II deal. So there's a report a few days ago that the deal was in serious jeopardy of being rescinded and not being completed because the Warriors, on Gary Payton's physical exam, found that he still has a core injury that sidelined him for most of the year this season with Portland, and he could be out for a lot more of the regular season. And so the Warriors had until yesterday to decide if they wanted to still go through with the deal, even though they found his injury out. And there's been a lot of stuff going on about the Blazers, people saying the Blazers were lying about his health status and not telling the Warriors that he's still hurt and forcing him to take shots to kind of play through the pain, which the Blazers denied. Even his agent, Gary Payton's agent, denied it. But the Warriors are still going to go through with the deal, and it has been officially completed. Gary Payton is back in Golden State, and yeah, the Warriors are gonna just take it and be like, you know what, we love Gary Payton over here, and he's gonna come back probably for playoff time, so we'll just take the deal. And they also probably didn't want to deal with James Wiseman having to come back because they already traded him, so it'd be very weird for him to come back. And yeah, so the Warriors are gonna fail Gary Payton's exam. And they also filed a complaint to the NBA about, Portland not informing them about his injury before doing the trade, because players can kind of be traded while they're hurt as long as the other team knows that they're hurt and they just kind of accept it, like, oh, he's hurt, but we'll still take him. But Portland didn't say anything. No one even knew he was still hurt, and then he just showed up at Golden State with a core injury, and the Warriors are like, wait, what? But yeah, they filed a complaint to the NBA, and the NBA is going to be doing an investigation if Portland did omit some information to Golden State. So yeah, just some news there. The trade is complete, and teams starting today can start playing the new players they got. Sadiq Bey in Atlanta, James Wiseman in Detroit, Kevin Knox in Portland, and then would be Gary Payton in Golden State, but he's hurt. But yeah, just wondering what the punishment will be if they do find that Portland was lying, which I think they probably were. Probably take away some seconds, honestly. Like, the NBA doesn't really punish people like that. Usually either getting fined or getting some second round picks taken away. Which doesn't really matter because Portland just got 5 in this trade. So what is NBA gonna take all those 5 second round picks away? I guess I don't know. But yeah, probably nothing is gonna come out of this. It's just gonna be a funny story we think about. Like, oh hey, remember when Portland lied about Gary Payton's injury and still traded him? That was funny. Wait, yeah. Anyway, we're going on to some college basketball news. The first one, a little bit of a sadder one. New Mexico State, the Aggies, are suspending play for the rest of the college season in basketball, citing that there's been some hazing incidents going on between 3 players to one of the New Mexico State players. And so there's investigations involved, and the school decided to end their regular season. Which sucks for a lot of the players on this team, especially the ones that didn't do anything. Not being able to play out the rest of their season, especially maybe some of the seniors not being able to complete their final year and ending really abruptly, which sucks. But yeah, just people doing unnecessary stuff, really. Like, I understand 3 players wanting to mess with some of the players and joking around, which is fine. But reading some of the stuff that allegedly they did, or some stuff that was going on, it's like, why? It's really just like, why? Like, it was so unnecessary. Why does there need to be any of that? And it's just a bad situation. I hope the people that did do those wrong things get punished correctly. And hopefully that one player that was getting hazed is okay. And hopefully he's not going through some mental stuff. And hopefully they can just put this behind them next year and get ready for next season. The team finishes with a 9-15 record, and they have a first-year head coach in Greg Kiar. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Just call him Coach Greg. Yeah. New Mexico State's been on a wild ride this year. There's earlier in the year where there is an incident going on between one of the players and one of the other people on campus, where some shooting was involved. Not talking about on the court shooting, but yeah, just a wild season for New Mexico State. Hopefully this can end next year, put it behind them, go out and play ball. Just kids being stupid. that's what it was. And then finally we got a huge upset in college basketball. Number 1 is down. Northwestern, the Wildcats, defeat the Purdue Boilermakers yesterday, the number 1 team in the nation. And this was a great game. Purdue was up 7 in the first half, 37-30. Um, it looked like it's gonna be one of those games where those games where the lower seed stays in it in the first half, and the second half Purdue just kind of runs away with it. And people thought that's what it was gonna be. With 5:58 left in the second half, Purdue hit a shot to go up 53-45. I think Zach Edey hit the shot for Purdue to go up 53-45. And Purdue looked like they were gonna take this game, but then the last 5 minutes of the game, Northwestern goes on a 19-5 run, and Northwestern comes back and defeats Purdue 64-58. Northwestern won this game with their defense. I feel like their defense was huge in this game, and then just hitting timely shots when they matter. But their defense really was on point, stopping Zach Edey. Well, not really stopping him, but kind of containing Zach Edey, who's probably gonna win National Player of the Year, and just forcing everyone else to shoot, and everyone else wasn't shooting. So that really helped them. Purdue is their first win over a number one. I'm sorry, Northwestern is their first win over a number one in program history. And just the emotions there. College basketball is so fun because of all the emotion that happens. Really, like as soon as they won, all the fans rushing on the court, especially when you upset a team in your home. That's the best because then all the fans come out on the court. Everyone's celebrating, a big circle in the middle, in the middle of the court. You saw the post-game interview where the coach and his son were very emotional and crying. Just a big win, and they deserve it. Northwestern, just a big win. It's probably going to be their best accomplishment ever. Probably Northwestern. So it's great to see that. Bo Buie, who is the team leading scorer, he had 26 points. He put a very good game getting to the rim on Edey. And shots when they needed to. Chase Audige, also one of their guards, had 15 points in this game. And yeah, Northwestern, it was really their defense. Zach Edey, who, again, National Player of the Year, they're 7'4" big man, 24 points and 8 rebounds. But then if you take away Zach Edey's points and his shots for Purdue as a team without Edey shot 10 for 37 and had 34 points. So really it was just let everyone else shoot, which is very tough because you got a 7'4" center in there. And in college, if you're 7'4", you're probably towering over 90 over everybody, basically. And so to be able to just kind of contain him and force everyone else to shoot, it was big for Northwestern. That's big, and that's a great win for them. Shout out to Northwestern and the Wildcats for getting that win. And then, for Purdue, they're still number one, maybe not for long. It's their third loss. They're 23-3. They've been number one for a little while now. They've been number one for a while, so we'll see if they keep number one. But yeah, because technically right now Houston has a better record. Houston's number two. They're 23-2 on a 5-game win streak. But yeah, college basketball has been great this year. It's been so insane. There's been so many upsets. Houston, who was number one at one point or number two, got upset just a little while ago. It's just upsets galore. Anybody can lose on any given day in college basketball, which is why it's so fun to watch. We're not even in March yet, which March is going to be crazy this year. March Madness is going to be great this year. I can feel it. With all these upsets going on, it's bound to be some craziness going on in March Madness. But yeah, it's been very different this year, college basketball, because a lot of the top guys that we usually see in the last few years aren't there anymore. Like Duke and Kentucky both aren't ranked. When's the last time that happened? Duke and Kentucky are in new phases now. Kentucky going a lot younger. Duke now in the post-Coach K era. Both are going through a little bit of some rebuilds, I would guess. They're not in there. North Carolina isn't ranked, which is a little disappointing after their good run they had last season. Even Gonzaga, who's usually a top team the last few years, is still ranked, but they're like 16th. It's been very different this year. Purdue is up there, number one. Houston's up there. Alabama's number 3. They're 22-3, 12-0 in their conference. They're usually a football school, but they're top in basketball now. UCLA is still good. Kansas is only one of the top big teams, still ranked at number 9. But yeah, Marquette's in there at 10. Kansas State is 12. Kansas State was number 4 or 5 at one point, I think, right? Yeah. They've been having a great season. They're ranked. St. Mary's is 15. TCU's in there. Miami's in there. Providence is number 20. NC State is 22. Rutgers, San Diego State, Creighton. Um, it's just a very weird year. I think, what was it? Florida Atlantic. Was it Florida Atlantic was ranked at one point? They were like 20 and 0 or something like that, but they fell out of the rankings because I think they lost their first game recently to UAB. I want to say. But yeah, college basketball's been amazing this year. Love it, love it. College is great, and I love watching it. And this year, March Madness is gonna be must see TV. It's always must see TV, but especially this year, it's gonna be great. Just basketball is great. Football's over with now. Again, shout out to the Chiefs. Um, but yeah, football's over. Basketball is now in full swing. Um, All Star Weekend's coming up this weekend. Very excited to see that. Then the second half of the season is going to be a dogfight, really, especially with how close everything is. It's going to be a dogfight. I don't even want to think about the playoffs because the playoffs are going to be another monster. But yeah, then you got March Madness coming up. You got, oh man, love it. Being a basketball fan right now is great. So much goes on all the time. It's great. But yeah, that's it for today's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, see you guys tomorrow.